What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Missed the Smark edition of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, is Callum Wiggins.
Dookie.
And Robert D. Felice.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We just got done watching No Holds Barred. We did this for a crossover between the two websites, so if you want to check out our live reactions, first impressions for myself and Callum, we did the fan tracks over on fanboysanonymous.com, so go check that out, watch the movie with us, and you'll hear our legitimate, what the fuck is happening on this kind of thing. The reason why we're doing this is because June 2nd just passed by. We were going to record this on June 2nd, but then June 2nd turned out to be another time where they're releasing a bunch of people. So we switched it up a little bit. We did the hot tags then. It's June 4th now instead, but, same kind of thing. It's, 32 years since this movie was made, 1989.
Insane.
And it was one of those things that last year when we were workshopping the idea of Missed the Smark, which, if you don't know what it is, it's basically the idea is at least one of us hasn't seen something that is either infamous or it's like, oh, you must see this because it's so good, or, something along those lines. But it's, we didn't see something that everybody else should see in one fashion or another. So we watch it, we review it, we do that kind of thing. We did one of them before on December to Dismember, and that was one of the ones that I hadn't seen. So this was another one that I was just like, I want to do this. I would know that people have requested that we would do something based off of this. I figured June 2nd is probably a good time to do it. Probably wouldn't be, a pay-per-view at that time or whatever it might have been. And it worked out well enough to be able to do it for this double feature kind of a thing. And it totally lives up. This movie's insane. And we're going to just review it here. We're going to give some of our thoughts that we, rounding out what we had said in the fan tracks and everything. So again, check out the fan tracks if you want the full experience of our reactions to these kind of things. But as always, drop a comment below. Tell us your thoughts on the movie, your thoughts on our reflections of how we're going to break this down here. And it's a thing. It's a thing, all right.
So I had first seen this film, I believe I was either a sophomore or junior in high school. That's a good 10 years since I've seen this film the first time and the only time. This movie is a disjointed mess.
Yeah.
Where you got Hulk Hogan, who's not actually Hulk Hogan, even though he's totally being Hulk Hogan. And you get this weird network executive who wants him to die because he said, no, I will not join your network because I'm under contract in the WWF.
Yeah.
This fucking movie was wild. Even outside of it just being a bad film, it's just a wild fucking movie.
Yeah, it's one of these rare instances of a movie where there seems to be a lot happening, and it's hard to kind of follow because as Rob says, the plot is so disjointed and it's going from one scene to the other without any real semblance of a plot or any sort of narrative direction. And yet throughout most of the movie, nothing really happens, nothing really progresses or evolves, no characters really develop. The only way they do develop is that one of them is at one point looking really healthy, and the other time he's in a wheelchair, and that's basically the amount of character development you're going to get out of this movie.
Well, what about the sweet love story where she's the executive, but she's actually a heel working for the evil guy? But no, she's not, because she's realized that Hulk Hogan is a sweet guy. So the one executive slaps her, and then somebody tries to rape her. There were some scenes in this film that were just like, oh wow, we're going there.
And I legitimately want to quote this thing from the Wikipedia page, just in case you're thinking that the rape thing is a little bit overzealous. So she confesses her identity to the wrestler and turns to his side. Brell learns of Samantha's defection because she told her. she told him directly that she's defecting, and so I don't know why I need that. But it says, and vowing revenge, sends his underlings to kidnap and rape her.
Yeah.
That is legitimately the phrase they've got on Wikipedia for it.
I mean, he used the phrase something like "it's party time," which is like one of those.
Oh yeah, and the fucking acting was bad here. Brell says it's party time. Like what?
Yeah, so there are. Oh man, there's so much that could be broken down about this movie. Obviously, we're not going to break down every single element, but
you did say you wanted to talk about the Dookie scene.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, like
so at one point in this movie, it's just a fight sequence. I mean, everything's just for the sake of whatever. So let's not mince words here. This is garbage. But there's
I kind of want to set the scene for it because how this progresses is that Hogan has been like, he's gone out of Brell's office and he's refused to sign a contract with him. Like, he shoved his check down his throat. So he gets into this limo, and the limo then just locks up because, it's an evil limo driver that clearly works for Brell. Yet Hogan thought that that'd be totally fine. And then he manages to send the limo kind of all over the place just by kicking it from the inside.
He's able to kick so well in his back, like, where he's seated, that he's able to have dents in the passenger seat that he can't have access to. And he's kicking it. I mean, I'll give him credit for this. This is at least established at one point in the movie unintentionally. He's able to kick this and make the car swerve. Later on, he's able to do push-ups and shake the fucking bed. So clearly this guy moves goddamn mountains with everything that he does. I'm surprised that his footsteps don't cause earthquakes. But he kicks enough that the limo gets all thrown out, and it happens to be that they pull up right next to a bunch of goons, and he's fighting the goons, and the one of them shits himself. And you end the scene with him saying, "What's that smell?" And he goes, "Dookie. Dookie."
And that's it. He doesn't toss him or anything. He doesn't toss him. He doesn't punch him, knock him out, headbutt him. That's just it. Dookie. Like,
yeah, and for all we know, he just stands there holding him for about a good couple of hours.
Yeah, just shaking him a little bit while the guy continues to crap himself.
Dookie.
Look, I love a wide variety of movies. Like, I've said it before, I'll say it a million times or whatever. Shawshank Redemption, best movie of all time. Godfather, number 2. But at the same time, my favorite comedy of all time is Robin Hood Men in Tights. Some movies are great, some movies are bad, some movies are so bad that they're good, some movies are just like, you watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. If you don't feel something after watching that movie, I mean, what the hell's going on? You don't have to watch a movie that's like the most dramatic, whatever, for it to be fun. I don't want anybody to think that a stupid action flick or a funny horror film or a terrible comedy can't still be fun. But this is just inherently so bad. And each decision that they've made for this movie is very clearly motivated by somebody who thinks that they should be in the business and they really shouldn't be. Or it's somebody who's not in the business and they're giving notes. Like, this Dookie scene is so indicative of that kind of a thing. It's just sort of, well, wouldn't it be funny if a guy shits himself because he's so afraid of Hulk Hogan? And then another person goes, I know, the word Dookie is funny. And I can't imagine Vince McMahon not watching this film and nearly pissing himself laughing at that. He probably thought that was the funniest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be surprised about that. It's like, haha, that was so funny. I nearly dookied myself.
Yeah,
That's
just like, and then, how some people, especially kids, if they watch a movie or something, they start quoting the movie like crazy. Vince is
He
probably
probably thought
hanging
that'd
out
be a catchphrase. Yeah.
like backstage working on like plans for SummerSlam and stuff, and he's just kind of like, somebody goes like, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and he's just like, Dookie, like that fucking movie, kind of thing. Like,
He probably thought the kids would get into it and like they'd be quoting him over the place, and then he'd introduce the grand scheme of introducing a wrestling character called Dookie, whose gimmick is that he shits himself on the way to the ring.
It's like a prototype of Dross.
He's
Pukey.
Dookie.
Man, that's so bad. Of course, well, actually, let's do this. Let's apply something that I've done over on Fanboys. This is the Making the Grade report card. The way to review movies that I've tooled over the years. We got storytelling subjects, we got technical subjects, and we got extra credit notes. So the storytelling, the story itself.
All right.
Here's the story. Hulk Hogan, not named Hulk Hogan, is great. We want him on our network. But since he said no, he needs to fucking die.
Yeah, that's basically about it.
That's the story.
So essentially, what happens is that this TV director is the big villain of the entire movie, or at least the overarching villain of the entire movie. Brell wants Hogan to be part of his television network because he's making huge ratings as the world champion over on the wrestling side of things in the WWF. So even though he's working for the WWF and there's people like Mean Gene and Jesse Ventura there, he can't be Hulk Hogan. He has to be Rip Thomas instead. And he refuses to go over to Brell's network, even though he gives him like a blank check to do whatever he wants. And so this guy then manages to form this thing called the
Battle of the Tough Guys.
Battle of the Tough Guys. And it proves to be like a massive rating success. So essentially, the movie could just end there.
You're right.
It's like, okay, we didn't get Rip Thomas, but instead we found like through complete chance we stumbled across this fantastic new concept that everyone loves and is getting the best TV ratings. We won, essentially. We got what we wanted, but no, that's not enough for Brell. He wants Rip Thomas dead as well.
How funny is it to think about this too? All he did was film an alternative product that's not even good because it's in a dive bar. So his answer to how do we beat Rip in the ratings is just do something else. Period. And he succeeded. So he's just like, well, if I'm that fucking great of a producer, anything I do is going to end up being great and all that. Like, yeah, there's no purpose.
Yeah, hey, listen, Paul Heyman watched this movie and he got a fantastic idea. Just ECW. It's different than what the other two are doing. And it worked, for at least to a degree.
And it's very weird that this person was so hung up on not getting Hogan that he was willing to basically die for it. Because is that like a Vince thing? Like, does Vince, while he does see himself as a babyface most times, does Vince also think, yeah, I'd be that guy? He'd be like, oh, fuck you don't want to sign with me? I'll kill you.
But then, like, they try and add a bit more depth to the story by introducing this love interest, Samantha Moore, who essentially, I mean, you show how the storytelling works or the character development or anything like that happens in the first scene that we see Samantha, where she's this, she's the head of this agency and she's clearly saying a lot of sophisticated and important things about trying to get Rip's character more. Build on the marketing success of Rip, and Rip is just checking her out the entire time. He's paying zero attention to what she has to say. He's just checking out her ass, and it's like it's not even he's being subtle about it. He's pretty much like he's just waiting for the moment. And then as soon as she says, "Okay, then we'll go on a date," he just turned into a 5-year-old kid who's just like never even seen. It's like boobs, like that sort of. It's just the worst.
Well, story-wise, if we're giving this a grade, A, B, C, D, that kind of thing, I mean, it's a fucking F, basically.
It's an F, yeah. It has to be an F.
Yeah. F.
like the only redeeming feature is just the idea that like you do have this good guy and you have an established bad guy, and eventually the good guy beats the bad guy. But by the end of it, like you just don't care. So what's the point of it?
And
Like, everything between is maybe not care.
almost every story can be made into a good film or a good book or a good, TV show, whatever it might be. So in theory, if there's a story of competing television ratings and somebody tries to bring somebody to another network or something like that, you can potentially make a good movie based off of that. It's clearly not this one, though. So not a good story. Character-wise, and we'll tie this into the technical side of the acting behind them because it's easier to just, talk about the individual characters and stuff. We've got Rip, played by Hulk Hogan. We've got Samantha, played by Joan Severance. The evil villain, corporate head, very, very 80s villain. Because, man, how many 80s movies are out there that the corporate guy is not the villain, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, he plays it very well, though. I did enjoy his acting in the movie.
So that's Kurt Fuller, who, more than anybody other than Hogan, is probably the one that people go, oh, I've seen him in some stuff. He's been in a ton of shit. He was in Ghostbusters 2. He was in The Running Man, Anger Management. What's like some of his most recent stuff? Nothing that seems like anybody would really know this. Psych the movie. Wow, he hasn't been doing much in the past couple of years. That's for sure. Drop Dead Diva TV series, something called Eli Stone TV series. I mean, this guy's been around a lot of stuff. He voiced something in the Batman. Superior? Huh.
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy's one of those guys. I've seen that dude in a bunch of things. But you got him. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's the sheriff in Scary Movie. Forgot about that. Great film. You got the other principal villain, the heavy of the movie, Zeus, played by Tiny Lister, who wrestling fans are more familiar with because Zeus actually popped up and, did the whole wrestling thing. He, for what he is, he's good. He's big. He's threatening looking. Obviously, he's not a fleshed out character or anything like that, but like, what do you expect in this movie?
Yeah, he's the Hogan villain.
Yeah.
Just like a monster that they build up by having him squash a load of other guys who barely says anything, who has an evil mouthpiece essentially for him. And yeah, that's essentially the Hogan formula. Let's just make a film out of it.
The weird thing is Hogan barely says anything for like the first hour of this film.
We got Hogan's brother, his little brother, Randy.
So, if you're over on the Smark on the Fanboys channel, you watch Tony and I doing the fan tracks for Army of the Dead, and I go off on how Kate is a useless character in Army of the Dead. Randy's worse. I don't know why Randy is watching Zeus fight in some factory somewhere. I don't know why Randy's friend is like, hey man, that's Rip's brother, you'll see what's gonna happen. It's like setting the poor guy up to get his ass fucking kicked, and he looks like he's gonna cry from the minute he comes face to face with Zeus. What good is Randy?
Yeah, he doesn't even do the Rip thing at the end like we were thinking that he was gonna do.
Because he was starting to move his fingers, and I thought, oh, he'll do the whole Rip him. Nope.
Randy is a shit character, of course. There's no development when it comes to somebody like Charlie, the trainer. He's just there to be Mick from Rocky, but without any charm or personality or character. We got the Stooges, Ordway and Unger. They're Stooges.
Just like nothing characters, really.
And that's basically it, because everybody else is like, Guy. Stan Hansen pops up. He's
Yes.
what's his character's name?
Neanderthal.
Neanderthal. Okay.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his name.
Well, they called him Bubba in the movie.
Yeah. So they can't even get that right. We got the headbangers in this movie. Not technically,
So-
but two characters are named Short Headbanger and Big Headbanger, so not much.
So, fun fact about that: Joe LeDuc, who played Big Headbanger, actually joined the WWF for like a couple of months as the Headbanger. It just didn't work out, and he's kind of forgotten because he's not on any pay-per-views or anything.
His last name's Duke.
Yes.
Why didn't he just go as Joel Dookie? It would have worked out a little bit better then.
That's one of the things we also mentioned while we were watching the movie as well, which is the fact there is a very minimal amount of actual wrestlers on this movie, considering the fact that it's financed by Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Okerlund, Fink, and Ventura pop up just to kind of fill in the WWF side of things.
Yeah,
We got Stan Hansen.
And you got Axe from Demolition.
You got Axe, and then I'm pretty sure that Jeep Swenson did some wrestling, but of course he wasn't like a professional wrestler for WWE. But he's Lug Wrench Perkins in this, and if anybody knows the name Jeep Swenson, you probably know him as Bane from Batman and Robin. So just big dude.
I'm gonna double check this right now, but I do believe that he, along with Zeus, were a part of the 1996 WCW match where it's just Hogan and Savage versus like 10 heels inside of a cage. And I think they called them the Ultimate Solution or the Final Solution.
Yeah. He's the Ultimate Solution, yeah.
I do believe that is Jeep Swenson.
Never really good idea to name a wrestler after a Nazi movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not wouldn't be my first choice.
I mean, they were the Dungeon of Doom after all, I guess. But the only other kind of wrestling personality in this movie, even for a slight moment of time, is Joey Morella as the referee.
Good for Joey.
Some of the other character names that they have for this, like these, MMA fighter types, they've got Bulldog McPherson, Klondike Kramer, and one that really stood out, Brock Chisler.
First of all, you've been very kind to them, calling them MMA style fighters. These were just like randos.
That's an octagon.
with lug wrenches. But yeah, Brock Chisler, that's a name.
That's fucking bonkers. And it's funny enough, apparently they didn't spell his name right. He's credited as Leon Senk, S-E-N-K, and his name's Leon Sek, S-E-K-K. So they typed some guy's name wrong.
Well, at least that was the biggest mistake they made in this entire movie.
There's also apparently Rebar Lawless, played by Giant Gustave Claude Ume. I remember that character popping up. But obviously the characters are not all that great. My favorite character of the whole bunch, Sadie the Waitress. One scene, and she's just kind of like, "Hey, honey, I'd fuck you if I weren't married." That's basically it. It's like, all right, give her a movie. I like Sadie.
Yeah.
Oh no, and then Hogan stops a robbery by throwing pies at people.
As one does. I mean, look, we're in a time frame right now where people are really questioning the validity of a lot of police forces. How would you stop a crime? You'd throw a pie, right?
Yeah.
God damn, this movie. So no matter who it is, whether it's Hogan, Severance, whatever, the acting is a solid D-. There's worse, but there's not much worse.
There's a lot better. There's a lot better. It's so wooden, and most of the acting isn't really done verbally by someone like Hogan in particular. Like, Hogan barely says anything outside of his like traditional Hogan-isms. Like when he's in character and actually wrestling. Outside of that, he doesn't actually say that much, and when he does say things, he doesn't come across believable in any way. And I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of times in this movie where he just looks directly into the camera
Mm-hmm.
because he just doesn't know how to do stuff. This was his first like movie appearance since the Thunderlips thing in Rocky.
And that was at what, 82?
Yeah, that was 7 years ago. So yeah, and I'm almost certain that they thought when they were putting elements of this together that they were making a new Rocky series. It's
Right.
just like, no, it's not. It's not anywhere near that. Yeah, the acting is just really wood, and the only one that really commits to it is Krell.
Brell.
Brell.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused because it's Kurt Fuller and then it's Brell as well. So
he's
Kurt
the only
Fuller.
one he's hamming it up in a way that he knows this is garbage. So he's just going to be very like, he's going to turn everything to a 13 instead of a 10.
Yeah.
So he does
making the
his
most of
part the way that he's supposed to do it. It's obviously not the type of thing that he's going to get nominated for an Oscar or anything like that for acting, but like he knows he's in a B movie. He's playing it up, and he's been in other things where he's good. So it's not like he's some shit actor. Like, God, what's that movie that the kid goes, "Oh my God, they're eating them, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my God." You guys have seen that clip, right?
Is that one of the Gremlins movies or something? I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know exactly what, but like that is not like what like a Kurt Fuller can do. He can do better than that. Check him out in other movies. He's fine. Hogan, I think, has been better, of course.
I was Troll 2. Sorry.
Troll 2. Okay, that makes sense. Like, the line in the movie that I think may be my biggest, like, wow, the acting is so bad here is, man, I hate it when you're hurt.
No, the line in the movie where the acting is peak crap is they close up on Randy and Randy just goes, yeah, like.
That's going to become another, how we've been doing with the Review to a Kill series, where in Moonraker he says, a woman, and different things like that. That's going to be another thing where it's going to, months from now, we're going to be talking about stuff and go, yeah, guaranteed, I know it.
I mean, there's tons of terrible lines. The one that sticks in my mind is, you and me and Harley and Tree.
You and me. No, it's the Harley and me, and you and the tree do the rhythm pose. Like, what the fuck? The guy just tried to rape your girlfriend, Hogan. What are you doing?
Acting.
Yeah,
fucking
very
rough.
Very bad. Yeah.
A couple technical things. Visuals. So the visual effects, the makeup, the costumes, the sets, that kind of thing. What we're looking at, essentially. Cinematography, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, not good.
I don't... It could have been a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
this is not a movie that has, like, sequences where, like they needed to have some kind of a CGI and they didn't, or something like that. It's 80s, so it's very 80s.
We got to see Hogan in, like, tie-dye shorts, and stuff like that's fun.
Oh, we have to talk about, if we're talking about just anything, I'm trying to fit it somewhere, so I might as well fit it in here if we're talking about cinematography. The shot of Rip charging a mirror.
Yeah,
see? That is showing a projection of Zeus. And just like the slow motion shots of him like going back and forth, charging into it, and then the explosion happening because the glass shatters, and yeah. A lot of it is bad.
Yeah, that's their one visual effect really in this movie, and it's terrible. Because clearly Zeus is standing there. You can see that he's an actual person, and then they cut away, and then they cut back, and it's just smashing through this mirror, slow motion. You got this weird like kind of blurry effect going on.
Yeah, I would say you should probably watch that back in the actual fan tracks on Fanboys Anonymous just to hear Tony's reaction, because I just love the tone in your voice when you're saying something. Just go, oh no, they're not actually. Because like you just know it's going to happen, but you're just trying to will it not to happen.
Right. I guess, technically speaking, like the sets aren't bad.
Yeah.
They could be, yeah, it's not the worst. I mean, a lot of it is like, it does the both the attack on Samantha scene and also where they drive Hogan in the first place. They both take place in the same parking lot.
I think it might.
Yeah.
Probably.
Just like the parking lot around the studio kind of thing or something.
Mm.
Apparently the parking lot of evil, because a lot of bad shit happened in there. By the way, Hogan, we didn't kind of glanced over this. Hogan jumped out of a limo and broke the roof. That
Yeah.
was totally fine.
Costume wise, those fucking shorts that he wears.
Top notch. Thumbs up.
Like,
I mean,
if Joan Severance was wearing that in the movie, it would be like, oh, this is kind of, exploitative a little bit. Just have the hot woman wearing like these really short shorts. No, it's fucking Hogan wearing it. But then again, she's wearing, a bra in these, it's the 80s, so the panties that she's wearing are the size of, 3 of Hogan's shorts. But like, that look, man, why did anybody ever think bald Hogan with the hair the way that he has it and the ripped shirt and those shorts was anything other than something to laugh at?
I guess they just thought maybe there was some inkling at the time because of how popular he was that he was some sort of sex symbol, and so they could try and exploit that side of it. I mean, to be fair, you needed to have some sort of visual stimuli for the scene of them for about 2 minutes just standing either side of a bathroom door brushing their teeth.
Yeah. No,
yeah, that
practically an
lasted
action
way
sequence.
too long. That lasted far too long.
That's you got to build up that tension, that romantic tension. Haven't you guys been brushing your teeth in the other room if somebody else is brushing their teeth? Then you just clearly are going to do it.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
you're doing
you break.
romantic tension wrong.
Yeah, and then that tension explodes when Hogan accidentally breaks the bed, and then she falls on top of him, and then that makes them super angry.
And then Hogan fires back at her by going, well, get this, dude. You put up more walls than I ever could. Like, what?
And, there's a couch that's got a better sense of humor than you do. Whatever.
Ugh.
I'm going to go sleep on the couch after I just fucked the bed up. You can stay here. Why are you mad at me for breaking the bed? Maybe because you broke the fucking bed, asshole. You jumped on top of it.
See, you're thinking logically. That's not why she was upset. She's thinking that he was intentionally trying to have her roll on top of him. She's not even upset about him breaking the bed. She's just upset that when he did so, she ended up on top of him.
Oh, I mean, it's twofold, but at the same time,
I'm
you
not
did
one
break
of
the
your
bed.
Goofies, Rip.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
just, okay, then don't fuck him. Kind of thing. It's like,
Well,
oh, man.
Again, this is another part of like the stupid character side of things. It's the fact that it's after this scene that, okay, so she's quote unquote like fallen in love with him because she's seen him beating up a couple of masked guys and like rolled on top of him in bed and seen those shorts and thought, oh yeah, I want some of that. And
Oh, don't forget that this guy can order French food.
oh yeah, and just the fact that like, and then this is the moment that we find out that she's been a double agent this whole time. There's been no inkling about that the entire movie so far. We find out she's a double agent, and then she immediately says, "Yeah, I'm not going to do what you wanted me to do."
At which point, Brell backhands her, and she ends up having to crawl away. And for a brief second, Brell's 2 lackeys are like, oh, we feel bad about this because he just totally smacked a woman. Later on, one of those henchmen would tell a cop to shoot her.
Yeah.
But that's...
Yeah. And like afterwards she goes back to Hogan after their argument, but now she's beaten up. Now it's time for forgiveness and stuff like that. Like, It's so badly put together. Like this epic love story is just so like it's nothing. Like there's no reason for them to really be getting together. There's no. I mean, they try and like rush the conflict and the seduction, and really there's nothing in it at all.
So let's switch over to audio. We got the music and the sound. No.
It's 80s to a T, but no.
Yeah, it's not. It's let's put it this way: it's not poorly done, but that's bad decisions. Because like, there's movies that have worse sound design. There's movies that have worse placement of music, or whatever. That's not poorly done for the 80s, but it's the 80s, and it's crap in the 80s, so it's bad. Because it's like, I mean, again, too, there's great movies in the 80s, and I love. If you'll listen to the fan tracks, you'll hear me being like, "Oh, they're doing the stereotypical villain theme of like the like dun 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 dun." That's full blown commando type shit, which is great in its own right. Like, I fucking love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies because they are straight up trash. That is so fun to watch. Give me Predator on a day where I'm like brain dead over watching something like I don't know, what's like an 80s movie that would be like Super Duper Deep or something. I don't know. I'll think of something later. But the point being, like, these are fun. And this is fun as hell watching this movie because it's so garbage. But it's just not good. So thumbs down on the audio.
Yeah, Jim Johnston is good, but this was too much.
Yeah, it's not too. And to that, I can really get behind a big 80s power ballad, but I think this one is just they use the songs at the wrong time, and it breaks in between them so often. It's just not coherent.
Let's talk tone. We got action, comedy, romance, and drama. That's kind of what every movie is built around. Some of it, of course, there's not much comedy in a movie that isn't supposed to be funny, or not much romance in some other things, whatever it might be. Obviously, this is primarily more action than anything else. And for the 80s, it's probably not all that bad.
The action itself is okay.
For the most
I
part,
think I think everything else about the movie was terrible, but the action itself, I thought, was passable.
Yeah, because if we really want to get into the nitty-gritty of tone, and I know we obviously got those 4 different categories, but if you want to go overall on the tone, this movie goes from childishly goofy at one end of the spectrum multiple times to downright sinister and horrible at the other end of it. Like, you got things like Dookie and and all this other like Hogan having like doing his charity work with kids and stuff like that, and all this other fun wholesome family stuff. And the other end, you got a guy getting electrocuted and dying, a guy falling from a tall structure and seemingly dying. Like
the main woman's part in this film is basically seduction, getting battered, potentially being raped, and then being a damsel in distress.
Yeah, and then not even to mention the bit where the guys going to the bar, and because they're all wearing suits, they assume that they're gay.
God, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, the what's the line? It's you guys must be looking for the gay bar.
So they walk into this bar, and because they're men in suits, they're like, our party would like to be seated, not realizing that they're in a fucking bar. But the chick looks at them and goes, "Oh, you must be looking for the gay bar. Yeah, it's down the street." What?
Now, of course, you have to keep in mind it's a different time frame. Jokes like that, of course, were not looked at the way that they are now.
No, but like even still,
it's still just like it's very lowbrow.
Gay. What about them gave off the air of, "Oh, you must be looking for the gay bar,"
because they're not like burly, spitting out tobacco types of guys.
Mm.
They don't have one guy named Bubba the Neanderthal who is perfectly fine taking a dump on the floor or whatever the hell they're doing over in there.
Oh, by the way, after she called them gay, she's like, I like to get laid.
Yeah.
Fuck,
If you
okay.
guys aren't gay, you want to fuck me? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, it seems like, is this what Vince McMahon kind of sees what like real burly masculine men being like, and what he thinks, I don't know, at least at that point in time, what he thought queer guys looked like?
He looks like that. What are you talking about? He's constantly in a
What-
suit with his perfectly done hair.
Hey, we're not talking about Shawn Michaels here, guys. Let's move on. Just
Well, here's a question. Is Brell supposed to be Vince McMahon, or is Brell supposed to be how Vince thinks other people see him?
no,
Or is
I don't
Brell
know.
supposed to be Vince McMahon's take on the evil corporation? Because he has said a lot that, oh, I don't identify with corporate America. I identify with the everyman. Like, I think it was when Linda was running for Senate, he was like, yeah, I ended up spending all my time speaking to the bartenders while she was doing the thing she was doing because I identify with him, not these people.
Because that's insane, because we know now from anybody who's done any kind of interviews and talked about these kind of things and books and everything, Vince is not an everyman. He is not the guy that's like, you can't talk to him about current affairs and modern, just, hey, did you see a movie recently? Because he hasn't. Like, the guy lives in his own bubble. So he's not an everyman type of dude who can just pop up at the bar and just be like, yo, did you check out the Mets? Or like, how about this weather? Like, he's a fucking phenomenon. And it comes
Yeah.
off in some ways, at the beginning of the movie in particular, it comes off like Brell is Vince. But then by the end of it, it's kind of like, oh, well, he's clearly considering himself the villain. But then does Vince look at himself? Is this one of those things where if we wanted to get real psychologically deep about this, is this Vince like punishing himself?
Yeah, I don't think this movie warrants that kind of psychological analysis.
Look, I'll put it this way. It's not written like that, but it could be subconscious. That's what I mean. Like, is this his idea of like, that's that my type of character, but he needs to see his end in a gruesomely way, because that's what, I mean, it kind of seems like Vince hates himself sometimes. You ever get that vibe? He both loves and hates himself.
I could do that.
Yeah.
At some points, it's like, well, I'm Vince McMahon. God damn it, I'm fucking great. And at other times, it's like, please don't thank me in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to fucking fire you because I don't want that kind of attention. And that's like guilt and everything, We're getting a lot deeper on this than I expected that we would be. But the point being, I get a feeling that might be something to it. I don't know. I'd love to be able to fucking talk to him about that. God, if I had like the time to take that out of his schedule and to talk to him. Vince is one of the few people I would really actually want to like sit down and talk with. Just be like, dude, can I pick your brain about everything? Like literally everything about some of this stuff. And can I also just be like, I had a teacher that was great for this kind of things where I could get him distracted just by asking him any random question. So I would start every class with some kind of a random question, because it would be like 10 minutes of the period. It would just chit chat about nonsense. My favorite of all being, you like scones? It's like 15-minute discussion about scones. Scones are great. You eat them with some coffee, you do this, whatever. And I'm just like, well, scones are better than muffins, right? Like, just, and they're like, Tony, can you do that every day? Just kind of a thing, I'd love to get that kind of opinion about Vince. Just chat him up about like, all right, Snickers or Milky Way, what's better? And just see where he fucking goes, Well, goddamn, pal, of course it's Milky Way. Like, it's kind of thing. Like, this stuff's incredibly interesting to me. I would love to check out more like behind the scenes stuff about this film if Vince is on it. If it's other people, if it's, fucking David Paymer to get into the part of Unger. I don't fucking care. Give me Vince.
I very much want to see if they thought, oh, this is our ticket to Hollywood here. We're gonna make the best movie, because this movie has zero depth in any way. And I just wonder if they were like, oh my God, this is gonna be so great. This is gonna change everything.
Because you know that he wants to do that stuff.
Yeah.
He's referred to WWF and WWE and everything as, we're making movies. And we've got WWE studios, we've got network stuff, Vince wants to be a producer without being a producer in a lot of ways. So it very well could have been like, let's level up here. Just happens to be with this movie.
Well, that's kind of the point, is even though you think, we make movies, pal. No, you don't. And everything you try to do outside of professional wrestling bombs miserably. XFL twice. World Bodybuilding Federation. Everything outside of wrestling, it never works.
Yep. See, go back to both 2001 Wrestling Goddess and Home and SmackDown podcast for a few deep dives into that stuff.
Do you think it was a directive that Richard Klinger in the credits was credited as Dick Klinger? Do you think that was something where they're like, put him down as Dick Klinger?
Yeah, because like all this stuff, you just get a sense that the same with like WWE nowadays. It's all there to entertain an audience of one. It's like, as long as Vince loved it, it's fine.
Like, they credit the Dookie guy as Dookie. I'm looking at the IMDb right now. They spelled multiple people's names wrong and everything. There's also Harry James is Diana James. He's a different name entirely. But yeah, like the Dick Klinger, they called him Dick Klinger for some reason. Oh, there's a guy who's credited as WWE. Wealthy wrestling enthusiast.
That's awesome.
And that's the point where they were called WWF as well, so that's quite interesting too.
So the comedy, we got primarily Dookie, the Harley and the tree, breaking the bed, although that's also treated as dramatic.
I'm trying to think of what was intentionally comedic. Is probably the weird thing, because a lot of it's funny, but that's not what they're trying to do. It's just funny because it's hokey and like dumb. There's really only a few bits which I guess they're putting there for real comedic effect.
A lot of it with the bar.
Yeah, a lot of it at the bar, a lot of it with the Dookie stuff, and all the rest of it is meant to be seen as like quite, as you say, dramatic and hopeful. It's not like when Randy says, he's doing it for comedic effects. You're actually supposed to be, oh wow, this is super emotional that he's like watching his brother fight out in this situation. It's like, no, it's just really funny how it's just yeah.
I assume that the little person in the cage is supposed to be comedic.
Oh, of course it is. Again, it's Vincent Mann's sense of humor.
There's a little person in a cage. Why? Because.
And he's just kind of like cackling.
Yeah.
Just sort of like, ha 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 ha. Like he's like, it's fucking Hornswoggle shtick. Got a little person acting, make him act like a leprechaun type of a thing. Like, this is definitely something that like a Vince would have been like, that'd be funny if you had that in there,
Yeah, again, those things are the few intentionally comedic things. Is like when Zeus makes his big entrance and he grabs a waitress by the face and holds her up in the air and then drops her through a bucket. That's not meant to be funny. You're supposed to actually be terrified.
Right.
That was unbelievable.
I think that might have gotten one of the biggest reactions out of me in the movie. Just, holy shit, okay, this is happening.
Because that happens before Brell even smacks Samantha. Zeus just shows up and just palms this woman's face, lifts her up, and drops her. Wild.
So thumbs down on the comedy.
Yeah.
There's also the romance, which couldn't get more of a thumbs down.
It's not good. It's not a well told love story.
Callum, you've hated some of the relationships in the Bond films. I have to ask, does this outdo any of those relationships?
No. But it's different because I don't think it's as constituent a part in this movie as it is for some of the other ones. This is more like a side story for the actual plot.
What's a better love story, Rip and Samantha, or Bond and Dink from Goldfinger?
I would say at least this one has more screen time, I guess.
For those who don't know, the character in Goldfinger, Dink, is just in a one-piece bikini. Bond says, "Leave. Men are talking." Smacks her in the ass and she leaves. That's literally it. Oh no, not literally it, because he also says, "Dink, this is Felix. Felix, this is Dink," and then tells her to leave. So there you go. It's just her character's name is Dink. Slap you on the ass and leave.
Men talk.
Yeah, it's a different era of that.
Even more different than this one. Like that's
this is the type of thing where 15, 20, whatever. I don't remember when Goldfinger came out. Goldfinger was what, 60,
66, maybe 65?
67, something maybe. So 20 years goes by, which is insane to think about. And it's like, oh, well, now we're giving women these strong roles in these films. She can escape her captivity when they're not paying any fucking attention to her, and she just walks out. Like,
because that's supposed to be the whole crux of the final scene, is the fact that he tells Hogan to take a dive because he's got Samantha held hostage, and Samantha makes a big escape by walking out of the room, and she, even though she manages to get into an elevator, the guys are faster walking down the stairs than she is in an elevator, and they get beaten up, and then she's there, and it doesn't really do anything because, like, Hogan starts fighting back, but you assume he probably just would have started fighting back anyway, because it's not like he sees her and then that's the fuel that he needs, to a degree. But yeah, it's yeah, the love aspect of the movie is left wanting a lot.
64 apparently is Goldfinger.
Okay.
So even more time has passed by. This is the type of movie that, what do they call it when your parents have a cousin? Is it like a second removed?
Something like that.
So family member of mine, second cousin, whatever you might have been. I always think about how he enjoyed movies. He was the type of guy that would most likely, he probably had a VHS tape of this because he loved Steven Seagal films, Jean-Claude Van Damme films, garbage movies like that. He would be like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I don't know, like Bloodsport. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie, And it's like, no, it's not really actually a pretty good movie. It's just kind of nonsense that you find fun and entertaining. But some people, that's their measuring stick is, did the movie make me laugh at some point? Did the action do whatever? And I'm sure that Harry would have fucking loved this movie. But, man, like the romance angle, they put it in this, I'm sure in part because they think incorporating a woman and incorporating a romance angle in the like most minimal fashion, oh, that'll be for the women in the crowd. They love that kind of thing, which is not how this works either, but they didn't know that at that point. It's absolutely terrible.
Yep. No, I'll give it from me.
Yeah. 100% terrible.
And then we got the drama. All the dramatic weight to this film.
Yeah, so I guess the most dramatic thing is a mixture of like Fuller's performance, just like trying to be a real like bastard throughout the entire movie and trying to take out Rip throughout the entire movie. And then I guess the most dramatic thing is like his brother being beaten up and like the montage of him recovering in hospital while Zeus is preparing for their big bout. That's supposed to be like the real deep moment where we start to really get an emotional attachment to Rip's situation and how is he going to overcome this monster and the stuff that's been happening to his family. Just like there's been nothing in the movie that's really established why Randy is there other than being his brother. I said like, oh, look, my brother Randy. Just like, and that's basically the real crux of their relationship throughout the entire movie. And then we're supposed to feel bad when he gets beaten up and feel there's this really deep bond between the two of them when they really spend no time in the movie establishing that at all.
But he gets to go, yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but really, they had a moment where the security guards take Samantha, and the poor guy is in a wheelchair and literally goes, "What the hell's going on?" Because he can't see because they didn't turn the chair around. When it's like, I don't know what they thought this film was gonna be, but it's one of the worst things ever.
Have you guys ever seen The Room?
Hey, Mark.
Multiple times, yeah.
What's a better movie, this or The Room?
Room. The Room is more entertaining.
Yeah, for sure.
I would happily sit down and watch The Room multiple times before I watch this again.
If you haven't seen the movie The Room, definitely check it out, everybody.
Everybody thinks Ready to Rumble is a bad film. It's not. This is a bad film. Ready to Rumble is about what you'd expect from a wrestling film. This is just straight up a bad film.
So other extra credit stuff here. Any other things to toss out about this movie? Pro or con, doesn't matter.
This movie is the only reason Randy Savage became champion. I guess that's a pro, right?
I guess if you want to give any sort of positive, it's like apparently it made money at the box office.
Really?
Yeah, so the movie debuted at number 2 behind Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
No fucking way.
Yeah. And it made about
Last
5
Crusade
million
is so
tickets.
much better.
And it made about 5 million in ticket sales in its first week. And then apparently, in total, the final tally was around about 16 million in ticket sales on an $8 million budget.
Huh.
You mean they doubled their money?
Apparently. Although, during it says here on Wikipedia, during the October 13th, 1997 episode of Monday Night Raw, Vince McMahon joked, "Hogan promised me that if the movie lost money, he was going to return his salary. I guess the check is still in the mail." This was during the Monday Night Wars and as part of a number of digs at Hogan's then new movie project, Assault on Devil's Island. Raw commentator Jim Ross also joked during the late 90s, "No holds barred, more like no profit allowed."
So I'm browsing the IMDb trivia right now. Very first one here says, when the first draft of the script was turned in, Hogan and McMahon disapproved of it, so they checked into a hotel at Reddington Beach, California, Florida, not California, and stayed up for 72 hours rewriting the script together. Hogan and McMahon, 72 hours rewriting the script. It's starting to make a little bit more sense now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, does Vince even have like this long legacy of ripping up scripts at the last minute and then just putting? Oh God, there's reasons why all this stuff comes across so terrible. I mean, it's hard to bring up anything that's really super positive. I mean, we kind of really discussed most of the high, like the most points of interest in the film, because so much of this film, we've discussed like the high points, or the highlights, of the things that really capture people's interest, and the rest of it is all just a load of waffle in between it, or slow motion shots, or like but I'm sure like when Zeus makes his appearance, there's a good 2 to 3 minutes is just it's just Brel looking at him, and then Zeus looking, and Brel looking, and then Zeus looking, and it's just like, why does every scene have to go on at least like 3 or 4 minutes longer than it should do?
Apparently, Hogan broke Zeus's nose and cut his hand on the glass shards from the broken mirrors. So they did that shot.
He actually did that.
And yeah, they had that issue. So,
Going to put here, Richard Harrington of the Washington Post said that Hogan's performance is as dreadful as one might expect from a man with such limited skills outside the ring, made worse by a story that is at once more obvious and less inspired than your average WrestleMania script. No Holds Barred makes Rocky look like Citizen Pain.
Oh, a very young and unknown Buff Bagwell can be seen as an extra.
I knew that there must be some wrestler just hanging around there.
I'm curious what scenes that might have been in. Wow, man, it's just this is a fucking hoot. So,
I mean, it led to the special appearance of the No Holds Barred, the match, the movie.
Well, let's get into that a little bit, because we know, of course, more about that than we do about the movie itself, because we've watched more of, pro wrestling when it comes to that. But this did have lots of tie-ins with, the current product at WWE at the time.
So you had the 1989's SummerSlam. So Hogan and Beefcake team up to defeat Savage and Zeus. So Zeus becomes like an actual wrestler, even though he had zero wrestling training. He was an actor. So they bring him in to do that anyway. And then they do the whole No Holds Barred the match, the movie, in December of 1989. And it's essentially just like there's a load of dark matches, which were probably far more entertaining than a lot of the actual main event itself, which is Hogan and Beefcake again against Randy Savage and Zeus, only this time inside a steel cage. But on the rest of the show, you got Dusty Rhodes defeats the Big Boss Man, got the Ultimate Warrior against Dino Bravo for the Intercontinental Championship, the Colossal connection of Andre the Giant and Haku defeating Demolition by count out, although therefore not winning the Tag Team Championships, and Mr. Perfect versus Ron Garvin. So probably some decent matches on the undercard. All those were dark matches though, so you never saw them unless you were actually in the crowd. You just saw this steel cage match. I think it was followed up by the actual movie itself. It was one or the other. I don't know.
It follows the movie. The movie came first.
Okay, so the movie comes first. Then this is the epic rematch, even though it's the second rematch because they've already done it at SummerSlam.
And we don't get much else when it comes to Zeus. It's not like he sticks around and has a 10-year career.
No,
well, he does do Survivor Series.
Yeah, so he wrestled at Survivor Series as part of a Ted DiBiase's team, I think, in a tag team match, and then he arrives in WCW
as Z Gangsta.
Yeah, Z Gangsta, and he's also part of that Doomsday Cage match
with Jeep Swenson.
Yeah, including him, the Ultimate Solution. He wrestles that match WCW Uncensored, and yeah.
And if
then
you
go on to start on Friday and be successful.
Friday, Fifth Element, Dark Knight. Remember his part in Dark Knight?
I don't.
He was the guy on the boat.
Oh, the guy that didn't want. Did he? He was the guy with the bomb.
The one who doesn't do anything with the bomb, but put it back.
Babyface turn for him.
He's apparently a gold member. Prisoner number 2.
I think I have seen him in Goldman.
I mean, this guy's in a million things. Apparently in a
Yeah, he
movie
was in
called
loads of
Who
stuff.
Made the Potato Salad? What the hell's that movie? Yeah, he's all over the place. You've seen Tiny Lister and some things here and there. He's still
Sadly
acting.
passed away. No, sadly passed away.
No, he
in,
died last year.
Yeah, December 10th,
Oh, he
2020.
did? These movies are just they're post-production. That's why then.
Yeah. Age
He-
62,
yeah.
yeah.
He's so you'll see him in like
in Zootopia. He's a voice in Zootopia.
Really?
In like, I'm trying to look at any of these other ones, which are a bit more. Oh, he's in the third edition of the Human Centipede. Great, it was a great series to be part of. I wonder if he's more, if he would have been more
Front and
proud of
back.
being in this than he was in that movie.
he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies that are going to be coming out that he's filmed stuff for.
Oh my God, he's in Santa's Sleigh.
With Goldberg?
Yeah, the Goldberg Evil Santa movie.
That is a movie. Depending
we
on
have
what
to
we have going on around December, that is a movie that we might do another one of these fan tracks plus Miss the Smark type of things because I've never seen Santa's Sleigh.
I have watched that movie.
I have not.
Yeah, I have seen it. It's a lot better than this. But that's obviously a low bar. Goldberg met his wife on the set of that. She was a stripper in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the legacy behind No Holds Barred. That's the reason why this is part of Miss the Smark. It's, I couldn't be a pro wrestling and movie fan without watching a movie that goes between the two of the two sides of things. I'm very glad that I watched it because it's terrible.
It's worse than I remembered.
Yeah, it's an abysmal attempt at trying to mix wrestling in with the Hollywood elite.
If you got to give it a star rating, where are you going?
1.
Are we going on like a movie star scale? Or are we going on the Meltzer star scale?
Well, I mean, the matches themselves are pretty much punches, so we can't do anything with the matches. Movie scale.
If we go on the movie scale, then I'll give it. Can I go half?
You could technically give it 0.
I'll give it 1 if I have to give like numbers. 1 is probably the most generous score that I can give it. If it was a wrestling score, it'd be -3 stars probably.
I gotta see where I ranked that god awful fucking Chuck Norris film. God, what was the name of the thing? We did a fan tracks, or not fan tracks. We did a movie club for it. It's, I gotta look in my my Letterboxd because it's around that range, but it's slightly better than that. Invasion USA. Okay, what did I give Invasion USA? I gave it the lowest possible rating that I could. Okay, so I guess I'm going 1 star just because I gave that one a half of a star, and I can't give it 0. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. There's almost nothing that's good about it. It's very, very 80s, and it's not that it's bad because it's 80s. It's bad because it's bad, because there's good 80s movies. 89, too. It does not feel like it should be 89. This feels like this should be like 84.
Yep. I guess they like most things with WWE, they're a few years too late from the people when it could have actually may have actually done something.
So somebody they gave it a 3 star on Letterboxd. This person's got this whole big long thing here. I kind of feel like I need to read this because this is already sounding like this is great.
Loud. Yes, you are.
So this is Joe on Letterboxd. Some thoughts. I've spoken and written at length on the technique of the Hulk Hogan reaction shot, so I was pleased to see that No Holds Barred has the most ambitious HHRS of all time. I guess this guy's like following Hulk Hogan reaction shots. As Hulk breaks down in tears after his young nephew, thought it was his brother, awakens from a coma. I wonder what internal emotions Hulk called forth in order to convincingly cry on screen, especially since in 1989 his life hadn't gotten incredibly shitty yet. Speaking of Hulk's nephew, what in the hell is wrong with that kid? He looks like he's perpetually on the verge of a complete emotional breakdown, even before he gets the shit beaten out of him by Tiny Lister and consigned to a wheelchair. Subtext of the corporate villains is kind of interesting. Kurt Fuller plays Mr. Brell, a villain who's unambiguously evil, as Hulk's character is unambiguously good, and whose scheme essentially involves selling a brutalized version of the great sport of professional wrestling to a public he cynically, yet accurately it seems, assumes has a strong lust for blood. How producer Vince McMahon saw himself as fitting into this dynamic is an interesting question, but he certainly never went broke underestimating the public's craving for a sport that has proven to be actually pretty dangerous. In addition to his heavy reacting duties, Hulk also has to serve as a romantic lead here, an aspect that lends the movie its most cringeworthy moments by far. There's a riff on "It Happened One Night" that somehow failed to popularize ultra tiny red shorts for men the way that Clark Gable popularized not wearing an undershirt. One of the bad guys shits himself. 3 stars. Hitting like review on that one. That's another one. Just says it's a 1-star review. This is the most recent one. Loved this as a kid. Then on all caps, Dookie as an adult. Also, Hogan can eat shit. 1 star. Oh man, I definitely want to check out one more movies that are along these lines. I want to find the review that's the biggest out of this one too. Let me see if somebody actually legitimately likes this movie. I see a 4-star. What do you get when you combine peak Hulk Hogan, a young Vince McMahon, and a mountain of cochise? Cochise? What's that? I don't even know what that is. And steroids.
I was gonna say, is that some sort of like I guess term for cocaine or something like that?
Maybe they typed it wrong or something. I'm gonna Google that real quick. That's yeah, no, they must have typed that wrong. This is like, what's the meaning of whatever? It's coming up, county in Arizona. Solid fucking gold. That's what you get. Another person says, it's too bad this movie didn't make more money or people will be still calling each other jock ass to this day. Kurt Fuller gives an insane performance and is easily the best thing about this. The opening theme sounds like an instrumental of Owner of a Lonely Heart. Also, was I the only one who got a kick out of the line, Rip says the worms are too good for you? Was this brutal put down supposed to make the already extremely enraged Zeus even angrier? They gave it 4 stars.
Oh, good to know.
I mean, to each their own.
Another person just says 4 stars. Art. That's it. Another person gives it 5 stars and just puts Dookie.
Well, Dookie.
We got a 4.5 of this film is so wild it gives me great joy. I love it. Oh wow, we got an all caps one for 4 stars. Wow, I really missed out. I was a huge Hulkamaniac as a kid. I love Hogan's film work too. Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, even Santa with Muscles. Yet somehow I remember this is all caps. So it's, yes, somehow I missed this flick until just now. This would have, the whole thing shouting. This would have easily been a favorite of mine had I seen it. Hulk plays Rip. Rip is pretty much Hulk, except he wears blue instead of yellow. Rip is an honorable wrestler and a nice guy. When a rival group of wrestlers comprised of drunken monsters who bar brawl each other into comas challenge Rip, he resists. Soon his brother is beat, his lady is attacked and kidnapped, and Tiny Lister Jr., complete with unibrow and guttural calls, is demanding Rip to fight him. It's amazing. Hogan even beats up a guy with a motorcycle while riding it. This should be a classic. 4 stars. Another one
God,
says...
even I'm not that deranged of a wrestling fan to call this a 4-star film.
There's a 0.5 star that just says hot dog shit. There's one that says 2.5 stars. Fact. Play this movie in the presence of any woman and she'll take you by force.
That's what I've been doing wrong.
Holy fuck, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. The writing, the acting, the cinematography. Chef's kiss. This film should be analyzed at every film school, and a version of it should be displayed at the Louvre. 5 stars. One just says transcendent. So bad it's good. Wait, so bad it's bad. No. My favorite part of this movie is when Jacob from Lost is in a wheelchair and neck brace, crying while Hulk Hogan is getting his ass handed to him. Another one says, my favorite David Payne Stan Hansen movie. Has he been in multiple films?
Stan Hansen was in a load of wrestling-themed, wrestling-centric movies.
Huh.
I don't know if any of them are any good, but like I know he was in a few of them. I'm actually going to check his filmography quickly because I'm pretty sure he was in quite a few. Not a load, but I'm sure he was in more than one.
I'm surprised they never tried to bring him in.
I should be wrestling for WWE a little bit.
This guy didn't even give a rating, but he says in his review, there's a dude named Brock Chisler and a dude named Bulldog McPherson in this movie. There's a fight in a steel mill against a dude named Lug Wrench. Hulk Hogan plays himself but is named Rip and throws down Hawaiian shakas every chance he gets. If you ever wanted to see Hulk Hogan do push-ups in a banana hammock while the moon gleams up his oiled up, over tanned muscles, this is for you.
No, to that, he wasn't in that much really. This is the only he's been in 2 movies. Well, this is the only movie that he's been in so far. The actual proper movie, I guess, with no holds barred, unless you count things like but yeah, a few documentaries and stuff like that. But he's coming out with there's a movie that's coming out soon called The Replaceables, which I assume is some sort of a
spoof on the Expendables.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be. Oh my god. Just looking at this, so there's a load of wrestlers in it already. I can tell that much. So we got Ernest Miller's in this.
Oh my god.
Haku is in it. Trying to see. DDP's in it. So yeah, Gangrel's in it.
Oh boy.
And the tagline is, or a small description of it is here. An alien force came to conquer. They had no idea this bunch was in town.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Might have to check that out.
Yeah. Oh god, that's gonna be one to watch.
Yeah, the tagline is, can they find victory just one more time? Yeah, so essentially it's a spoof on the Expendables.
So I'll read this one. This is the last review I'm going to read because I think this pretty much sums up most of what we've been saying. This is Jack Scagnetti on Letterboxd. Gave it 3 stars. Full disclosure, this is one of the worst movies ever, but it comes all the way back around to being absolute genius. You could not possibly write a comedy movie this hilarious if you tried. There is such misogyny, juvenile humor, and flat-out misunderstanding of physics that it could only be a product of the 80s wrestling's minds. I love this movie, from the dookie to the attempted rape and multiple successful murders, to the evil network execs not caring about an escaped convict because he gets ratings. This is the most insane movie ever, and it has no concept as to how ridiculous it really is. Atrocious dialogue, acting, plot, characters. It's all so bad that it's good. Go in expecting to laugh and you'll have a great time. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up with a lot of this. This is hot garbage and a lot of fun to have watched.
I really enjoyed it. In terms of I enjoyed sitting down with you guys and
bullshitting.
Laughing at this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a movie I would ever recommend to anybody as far as hey, you want to watch a film? You know?
You want to watch a cinematic masterpiece?
Right. We could watch, something like Forrest Gump. We could watch American Beauty. We could watch Fight Club. Or we could watch No Holds Barred. Sure. Okay. So yeah, thumbs down. If this was Review to a Kill, I'd say we're all going with stirred here instead of shaken. Anyway, tell us your thoughts on what you think about this movie, about its place in pop culture history, whatever you want to call it. Tell us also some suggestions of some other things that you would like us to check out, because I haven't seen Santa Slay. I haven't seen Ready to Rumble.
I
I
think
haven't
it's too early to
seen
rumble.
They Live.
I haven't seen that either.
So there's options for us to watch wrestling movies to kind of go between the two different Fanboys and Smart Guy Moment kinds of things. And of course, other movie stuff you'll find on Fanboys, other pro wrestling stuff you'll find here. But it's a crossover between different things. There's also the movies like The Marine and stuff like that. Like, I've never seen any of those. If you guys really want us to watch some of those things, you think it'll be particularly fun, then that's something that we can get into at some point. I'd be up for doing some more movie content, just to kind of switch things up a little bit and not have to talk all the time about the stuff that's happening with the current product.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this is going to be more entertaining because we're still not sitting down for 3 hours watching it.
Well, maybe there's a director's cut. Maybe this is like, Zack Snyder does a re-edit of this film and it's from some 4-hour long version of this film where there's a reason why all these things happen that are just, when he says, I hate it when you're hurt. It's like, oh, because they've actually had like this big long romance that has been cut from the movie and everything. If there was a director's cut, would you watch it?
If it featured behind the scenes footage and production outtakes, yes.
God, outtakes would be great.
I would deliberately seek out the things that I haven't already seen in the movie. I would not sit the whole way through a director's cut after already watching this.
If anybody finds anything like that, send it my way. I'll do something based off of it. I'd love to check out deleted scenes and stuff too. So, yeah. Rounding this out, make sure you follow everything that we got going on here. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this, especially because then I know if a lot of people are hitting the like button on this, I know that we can go back and do these again in the future. Drop a comment and tell us that. Hit the applause button if you want to toss your space change our way. The join button as well. Join the membership side of things over here on Smart Out Moment. That's the same thing as the Patreon. Of course, the Patreon has the Pick Your Poison tier, so if you really do, in particular, want to see us do some things like this, then you can request it as part of that, and then we'll do it, because that's the whole point. Follow what I've got going on, follow what these guys have going on, follow what's coming up next on the channel. Next week, we're going to be doing the NXT TakeOver in Your House stuff, and then following that, we're going to get into Hell in a Cell, and we got some blank weeks coming up too, so we're going to try to fill that in with some other kind of things here and there. Maybe a tournament coming up soon. I don't know. Haven't quite decided on that yet. Maybe some other stuff along the way. There's, Darkcast material. You'll see things. If you're subscribed, which you should be, then things will pop up and, we'll see you with all that stuff. But in the meantime, follow all of our exploits on Facebook and Twitter and everything. I'm at Tony Mango. Callum is over there at Wigmeister14.
Yep, you can check me out there on Twitter. And you can check out all of the articles on smartremote.com, but primarily the power rankings. Always prioritize that one because that's the one that I put together every single week. And if you're interested in more retro-related wrestling content, if you haven't checked it out already, there's both 2001 Wrestling Odyssey and the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast over in the podcast feeds.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at DudeFelice. You can check out everything I'm doing over at Fightful.com, WrestleZone.com, and a whole bunch of other websites. I did a recent Battlegrounds podcast. I'm always over on the Rest Friends podcast. Just keep clicking around and you'll see me somewhere.
And I got my stuff going on. Just hang out under a mango tree and you'll find it all. But that's going to do us in for this edition. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for checking out the fan tracks if you did that as well. Show some love over to Fanboys Anonymous and all the stuff on the Blue Brand. And we'll see you either on that side or this side with the next one. That's going to do us in. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.